And I'll share my screen again. Okay, sweet. I'm just gonna get started, but while our other friends keep joining. Um, okay, sweet. So we were on market value of bond 4. So price quote is 1.0281 times 67 million. Um, Sweet. Formula text that. Awesome. Okay, so now we need to add all these up. So let's look. Total market value of debt. I'm gonna just do the sum of all these. It gives us this massive number, 230 million, whatever. Okay, sweet. Um, Now we've got the weight issue of each of these debts. So we've got we want to figure out the weight of these debts, which means we're just going to take the market value divided by the total market value. Does that make sense? So weight of bond 1, and I'm going to take bond 1 market value divided by total market value. Okay? Then I'll do weight of bond 2. I'm going to get market value of bond 2 divided by total market value. Weight of bond 3. Again, bond 3 divided by total market value. And then weight of bond 4. Okay. Sweet. So we've got, I can turn all these into percents if we like. Okay, so those are the weightings of each of these. Let me formula text all of these so that we know what we're doing here. I'm gonna add one line in between here so we're not getting, okay, sweet. So we've got the weights of each of these bonds. So then we need the weighted average yield to maturity of the company's debt is, okay, so we're going to do the weight times the, well, let's see, what are we doing? We've got this 20. Oh, we need to find the yield to maturity for each bond. So now we're gonna do the rate. So let's say yield to maturity or rate of each bond. No, sorry, rate of bond 1. So we've got rate of number of periods is going to be, let's see, 30 years. Payment is 32.5. Let's see. Coupon rate is going to be 32.5. Um, Future value is 1,064.6. So I've just multiplied this price quote by 10. Future value is going to be 1,000.
Hey, Sarah,
Yeah?
the first part of that, the rate or the how long it is, the period,
Yeah.
they're semi-annual bonds. The information that's spelled out doesn't say that, but it does say it in the question. So it's 30 times 2.
Oh, yep. You're right. So this is times 2. This is, I believe, okay. Hold up. Um, okay. So this here shows us the, well, here, let me calculate the actual payment in here for you. Oh, hello. So this is going to be 6.5% times 1,000. Oh, no, hold up. Okay, 6.5. Well, here, let's calculate the, hold on, 30 times 2, 32.5 is what the payment should be. So let me show you guys how I got the payment. It's just going to be 6.5% times 1,000, which is a yearly payment, and then divided by, oh, hello, and then divided by 2. And I'm getting that because of what David just said. The interest payments are semi-annual. So this is how I got the 32.5 payment that I used in this rate function. Um,
But your overall percentage, that whole formula has to be times by two because that's per
yeah, so
payment, not per year.
yeah. Yeah, and that's what I've done right here. It's just multiplied it by 2. Does that make sense? Is that right, David? Is that what you were thinking?
Yes.
Okay, sweet. So I'll make this a percentage. Okay. Rate of, so now we do the same thing. Well, yield to maturity of bond one is just going to be this 6.03. So rate of bond two. So first let's calculate the payment, which is going to be 8% times 1,000 and then divided by 2 because they pay semi-annual. Rate of bond two, oh, hello, equals rate. Number of periods is going to be, let's see, 8 years times 2. 8 times 2. Payment is going to be our $40 that we calculated right over here. Then our present value of the bond is going to be negative 1150.2. So what I've done there is the price quote. I've just moved the decimal over one place because those are in kind of in percentages. And then the future value is going to be 1,000. And I'm going to let me uh, bump this decimal out. 2.82. Then we're going to multiply it by 2. Oh, hello. Equals, oh, what the heck? Okay. Equals this times 2 gives us our rate. So let's turn that into percentage. 5.64. Sweet. So yield to maturity is 5.64. Okay. And I'm gonna highlight these so because we got lots of math going on here. I don't want to lose anyone. Okay. Okay, so then rate of bond 3. You're gonna do the same thing. Let's find the payment, which is going to be 7.7% times 1,000 divided by 2. So rate is number of periods is gonna be 15.5 times 2. Payment is going to be 38.5. Present value is going to be negative 1135.7. And the future value is going to be 1,000. So let's bump these numbers out. We get 3.16. We're going to multiply it by 2. And then our yield to maturity of bond 3 is 6.31%. Right here. Hello. And highlight it. Okay, sweet. 6.31%. Okay, rate of bond 4. Let's do the payment first. It's going to be 7.3% times 1,000 face value, which is just going to be $73. And then divided by 2. Okay, so then our rate function is going to be number of periods, which is 25 times 2. Number of payment is going to be 36.5. Present value is going to be 1028.1. Future value is going to be 1,000. Okay, so 3.53 is what we get there. Multiply that by 2. And then we've got our yield to maturity, which is right here. Percent and highlight. Okay, sweet. Now that we've got our yield to maturities of all of these and the weightings of all of these, we're going to find that weighted average yield to maturity, which is just going to be equal to the weighting times the yield to maturity. So the weighting of bond one is 20.74%. We're going to multiply that by the yield to maturity of bond one, which is 6.03%. Then we're going to add this 19.93% times the yield to maturity of bond two plus 29.5% times yield to maturity 3 plus 29.83 times yield to maturity 4. And that should give us 6.3435 close. Okay, sweet. Okay. So now we're going to multiply this by 1 minus tax. So this is our pre-tax cost of debt. So this is like the biggest mistake people make is they don't times it by 1 minus the tax rate. And you've done all this work and you've done all of it right. Remember to times it by 1 minus the tax rate to get the after-tax cost of debt. Percent times this. And we get 4.76. And that's our after-tax cost of debt. Okay, that one was heavy, so good job. Any questions on that? Okay. Sweet. Let's move on. Question 12. Deep Mining and Precious Metals are separate firms that are both considering a silver mining project. Deep Mining is in the actual mining business and has an after-tax cost of capital of 16.2%. Precious Metals is in the precious gem retail business and has an after-tax cost of capital of 13.4%. The project under consideration has initial costs of $950,000. The anticipated annual cash flows of $165,000 a year for 12 years. What's the NPV of the project? Okay. So, this is pretty simple. It's just NPV. Let's do the NPV is going to be equal to the negative $950,000 that it takes to start the project plus 165,000 times 1 minus and then 1 over 1.162 to the power of 12 divided by 0.162. Let's see. Hold on, let me make sure I got my parentheses right. All this formula is the present value formula. So, let's see. Should have 2 right there. 1 minus 1 over. Okay, sweet. So if you wanted to, you could just do if you wanted to, you could like write out 165,000 for 12 years, right? This is year one, year two, and then you could just do equals NPV of those cash flows with the rate of 16.2%. Um, and you could get it that way, but this way you can just use the present value formula to get the present value of those cash flows and then subtract off the initial cost. Okay, so you get negative 99,553.49, which is what I got there. Sweet. Okay. The thing she's stressing with you right here is to figure out what cost of capital to use, what rate to use. So we've used the 16.2% because we because that's the one that makes the most sense for this project. So, like, deep mining is an actual mining business and has an after-tax cost of capital of 16.2%. Precious metals is in the gem retail business, and their WACC is 13.4%. So, and we're doing a silver mining project. So we want the actual mining after-tax cost of capital. Does that make sense? So the trick here is not the actual net present value calculation, it's what WACC do I use. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay, only like three more, so we're almost done. Okay, 13. So we've got the oil derrick. I don't know what that means. Okay. The oil derrick has an overall cost of equity of 12.7% and a beta of 1.13%. The firm is financed solely with common stock. The risk-free rate of return is 4.8%. What's the appropriate cost of capital for a division within the firm that has an estimated beta of 1.16%? So we need to find the cost of capital for a beta with 1.16%. So we know that this is going to take a little bit of algebra, but not too bad. So let me start a new question. So we know, so CAPM formula, let's just write it down, remind ourselves. It's the risk-free rate plus beta times market rate minus risk-free rate. This number this in the parentheses right there is also called the MRP, which is the market risk premium. So, okay. Okay. So we know that Oil Derrick has a cost of equity of 12.7%. That means that 4.8%, sorry, 4.8% time plus 1.13, because that's their beta, times the market risk premium, which is X minus the risk-free rate, 4.8%, equals 12.7. Do you guys understand what I'm doing here? So I've put X in what we're solving for. So we want to find um, we can just call this whole thing the MRP. So we want to solve for the MRP. So what should we do? We've got 12.7 equals this side. We only have one unknown. So let's subtract 4.8 from both sides. So 12.7 minus 4.8 is going to be 7.9 equals 1.13 times the MRP, which is what we're solving for. Okay. So then we're going to divide both sides by 1.13. Oh, I need a equal sign by that. 6.99, so that's going to be 6.99115%. Does that make sense? So that's our MRP. So now, uh, equals MRP. Oh, I've got to do I lost. Okay. So we've got 6.99% equals the MRP. Is everyone following to this point? And then we want to find the CAPM if beta equals 1.16 instead of 1.13. So we're going to do the same thing. We've got risk-free rate is 4.8%. So 4.8% plus the beta 1.16 times the MRP, which is this 6.99%. That gives us 12.91% if we turn this into a percent sign. Okay, sweet. Does that make sense to everyone? There's a little bit of algebra there. Are we all good? Comfortable with that? Okay, I'm gonna assume we're comfortable with that. Okay. 14, second to last one. Hallelujah. National Home Rentals has a beta of 1.06, a stock price of $17, and a recently paid annual dividend of 92 cents per share. Dividend growth rate is 2.2%. The market has a rate of return of 11.2% and a risk premium of 7.3%. What is the estimated cost of equity using the average return of the CAPM and dividend discount model? So we need to find the CAPM first. So we're going to find a return using CAPM, and we get 11 point. So let's do we've got the risk we've got the risk-free rate is going to be 11.2% minus 7.3%, or yeah. So risk premium, that's the MRP that we just solved for. So we're going to subtract 11.2% from the risk premium to get the risk-free rate. So I'll call this risk-free rate. And then I've got the beta is 1.06, and then the MRP is 7.3%. Does that make sense, what I've done? The market risk premium is 7.3. So now I'm going to calculate the CAPM is going to be risk-free rate plus beta times MRP. And then let's turn this into a percentage. 11.64%. Sweet. Sorry, there's a lawnmower going by. Okay, so now we've got the return for CAPM. Now we need to find the return for the dividend growth model. So return using, dang, that's gonna be annoying. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but I can. Dividend growth model. So we've got the dividend growth rate is 2.2%, and they just paid a dividend of 92 cents per share. So just paid, so let's call this dividend year 0 is going to be 92 cents. Dividend growth rate is going to be 2.2%. So we know the dividend in year 1 is going to be 92 cents times 1 plus this growth rate. So we've got 0.94, so 94 cents. Does that make sense? And then we're going to divide by the stock price. So we've got 94 cents divided by 17. And then we're going to add the dividend growth rate, which is 2.2%. So total return using dividend growth model is going to be this plus this. 7.73%. Okay, we good there? So let me highlight, or actually, I'll just move this down a little bit. Okay, so then that average of these two is just going to be, so the average return is just going to be 7.73 plus 11.64 divided by 2. We get 9.68 is the rate of return. So let's look. Okay. 9.68 is going to be the average return of the CAPM and dividend discount model. Highlight that. Okay, sweet. Okay, last one, 15. AZ Products has 140,000 shares of common stock and outstanding at a market price of $27 per share. Next year's annual dividend is expected to be $1.43 per share, and the dividend growth rate is 2%. The company also has 2,500 bonds outstanding with a face value of $1,000 per bond. They have a pre-tax yield of 7.35% and sell at a 98.2% of face value. The company's tax rate is 21%. What's the weighted average cost of capital? Okay. So 15, we're trying to find the WACC. So what we want to find is the debt, the equity, the total value. So let's see. We know the equity is going to be here, let's find the return on equity first. So we want to find the return on equity, the return on debt, and then using those we can find the WACC if we have all of these first. So let's start with the return on equity. We've got $1.43 is their dividend per share divided by $27, which is a share price. And then we're going to add the dividend growth rate. Right? That's what we did just barely. That's a huge number. Let's break it down. 7.3%. So that's the return on equity. And so our total equity value is going to be 140,000 shares outstanding times 27%. Or sorry, $27 per share. Hello. So we get 3,780,000. Okay. And then we need to find the market value of debt, which is going to be the 2,500 bonds times 9.982, because they're selling for 98% of their face value, and then we're going to multiply by the face value. Oh, I didn't put an equal sign. Hello. Does that make sense what I've done? So I'm taking how many bonds there are times by what they're worth currently on the market. So they're selling for 98% of the $1,000 face value times by how many bonds there are. I get 2,455,000, and then the total value is going to be the sum of these two. Okay. So then so then now we've got almost enough. We need to find the bonds have a pre-tax yield of 7.35%. Oh, what did I just do? 7.35%. And then we need the tax rate, which is 21%. So now we have everything we need. The WACC is going to be equal to equity divided by total value. Oh, good, we're gonna finish. Total value times by return on equity. Then we're gonna add debt divided by total value of the company. and then multiply it by the rate or the return on debt and multiply it by 1 minus the tax rate. And that should give us the WACC. So let's turn this into a percentage. 6.71%. Does that make sense how I've done that? So 6.71%. Okay, sweet. And we've finished. So yeah, these look good. Does anyone have any questions? So we finished the exam. Sweet. Anyone have any questions about the exam, about what you can bring in? It's like open note, open book, so you get an Excel sheet. I would for studying, I would recommend understanding a cash flow statement. Almost guarantee you'll see like the same one we did up here, this sources and uses of cash. You can almost guarantee you're gonna see this on the exam. So understanding what ways cash flows when you're increasing in assets or liabilities. You'll see a cash cycle question. You're gonna see like a re-optimized beta, so like an optimized debt to equity ratio beta question. I would just make sure you understand these practice problems really well. And then I'd also go maybe look at your most recent homework that you just turned in, maybe the last two, and just look through them really quick, make sure you understand. But other than that, I think you guys should be good. So, are there any questions? Okay, well, sounds good. I will end the meeting if there's no any other questions. Oh, I got a text from Taylor. Can you post your spreadsheet? Yeah, I'll post it. But I'm gonna go in and change some of the numbers because a lot of students last time, Angela told me a lot of students last time used the Excel on the exam, the Excel that I made, and that's not allowed. So I have to change some of the numbers, but the processes are still the same. Does that make sense? So I'll post the Excel sheet and I'll upload the recordings to YouTube, but then but you guys were here, so you might not need to watch it. But if you do, it took me like 12 hours to get them posted last time, so it might be a little bit tricky to get them uploaded soon, but hopefully they'll be uploaded by tonight. So, and there's only two of them this time. Last time there were three. So, okay, well, if there are no other questions, good luck on the exam. And if you have any questions, let me know. I can answer until the exam, then I have to not give any help after that. So, good luck. Hope you have a great end of the semester.